Hey guys, Kenny within the pocket, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a discussion video, and this is in response to a video by SharpThinking, who, if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, check that out. He's a very similar YouTube reviewer, and he started this idea of like getting out of your comfort zone, stepping out of that comfort zone of what the knives you're used to carrying and what you feel comfortable carrying. And it really did strike a tune with me because I look at where I started carrying knives and what I've come to at this point in my life, and it's drastically changed. So and even in the year that I've been kind of got reacquainted with the knife world and kind of stepped back in, it's changed a lot just in that year. So I really I have a lot to say about it. So this might be a bit of a longer video, but hopefully I can keep it fairly short. But really, to preface this, to really get into this, I need to kind of see where I came from, and I think that's important. To know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. And man, I don't even have a lot of the knives I started my love of knives with, because some of them were like my dad's knives that he has still, and or knives that I bought or were given to me and at this point have been lost, or I gave them away. So it's just like I can't even show you them. But for instance, I've probably had 2 or 3 Swiss Army knives, Victorinox, and I don't know where they are. I don't know what happened to them, so I can't really show you those. But I do have this guy, which I don't remember where I got this, but this is like one of those things, I'm with my mom at Home Depot, and I'm like, oh, I want that knife, and she decides to go ahead and grab it for me. This thing's pretty hideous. It's some kind of stainless steel. It doesn't even say what it is. I don't know if you can see this blade play, and both ways, every way, the lock bar moves. Super god-awful thick handle with super thin steel and serrations. I wouldn't be caught dead with this thing nowadays, but back when I was a kid, this was something that I would have carried around. This thing, I was a carpenter for 12 years, and this is just one of the knives that the guy that comes through the boatyard where I worked would he'd always have these $3, $5 knives, excuse me, that he would sell, and I'd grab one of those, and it was something that I could beat the hell out of and really just don't give a shit about, or practice sharpening, or just something I really wouldn't care about. And from there, it really I had all different kinds of knives, including Kershaw. I think I had 2 Kershaw cryos. Oh, I left something up here. Oh, bear with me, guys. Sorry about the mess, too. It's just, man, I started pulling knives out and it turned into a shit show. So, yeah, I got this H&K. This is like a Big 5 special. I had a friend who gave me this as I was his best man, and this was he gave it to all the groomsmen. Not high-end knife. It's tipped down and all kinds of things that I would never carry nowadays, but this was a good knife for me, and now it's kind of in the garage, and I use it as my beater and work on sharpening and stuff with it. But yeah, it's sharpening. You can see the serrations are all chipped out and everything. I don't know how well that's gonna come out, but yeah, this thing's been used and abused, and it's speed safe, or whatever you want to call it, assisted. And I don't really love assisted, but there was a time when I did like assisted, and it was also at a time when I couldn't really afford knives that would deploy. I mean, they didn't have as many budget-friendly knives when I was a kid that deployed like a $500 knife. You know, you just couldn't get those lower grade knives that actually could trick you that they were more expensive. But anyways, yeah. You know, if you guys are relatively new to my channel, then you wouldn't know this. But anyone who's been here since the beginning, you know that this was kind of my step into the upper end knives. Well, I know I say upper end knives, people would laugh at me, but you know, just the more expensive production knives. And you know, the Para 3 was kind of like my step back in, and I really was so impressed by this, but it still fit into my comfort level because of the size of the blade, you know, 3-inch blade. When I was a kid, and even when I first moved back to California, you know, in my early 30s, you know, I was still under the assumption that we could only carry 3-inch knives. And when I was a kid, that was all you could carry in California. And actually, I'm not a big guy, so having a 3-inch knife is relatively reasonable. So I would always carry around a 3-inch knife or under, and this really fit into that. So when I started looking for knives, when I kind of started getting back into it, that was where I started, you know, looking at 3-inch and under knives, because I didn't know that the laws had changed and you could carry a 4-inch, 5-inch knife now. Yeah, so this was the beginning of that, and it was stepping out of my comfort level, because I would have never spent $120, $130 on a knife 5-10 years ago. I will now, that's for damn sure. If you watch my channel, you damn well know that. But this was my step into that, you know, my jumping off that little bit of a cliff to try something that was out of my comfort level. And boy, am I glad I did. And it just opened a can of worms. But, you know, this was stepping out of my comfort level. And it totally was worth it. Even though, you know, this is like within my comfort level. This was something, even though I wouldn't have bought this 10 years ago because of the price, you know, even $75 was kind of out of my comfort level. This opened up that wall, and then this is something that, man, I wish I would have figured out years ago, because I probably would have been fine spending 70, you know, even probably back then it was probably 50, $60. I would have gladly spent that on a Delica. So, you know, sometimes it takes doing something like this to open your eyes to stuff like this. You know, I would only spend about $30 on a knife back then. So yeah, what kind of like broadened my horizons a bit, but I was still lost in the sense, was I was given this. This is a Southern Grind Bad Monkey. I was given this by a boat that I worked on. They actually made these for a different boat. This is a Fed ship. You know, like this is a big giant yacht that the owner of the fishing yacht I was working on, he actually gave these to people that worked on his mega yacht. God, fuck, that sounds really bad, but yeah, I worked for some really, really rich dudes when I was making high-end fishing yachts. But so yeah, he gave me this knife because he really appreciated a lot of the work that I did on his boat. The guys in my yard all got fishing rods, which I did too, but he kind of snuck this to me on the side as well because I did a lot of extra work for him. But this was like, when I first got this thing, I'm like, holy shit, this was amazing. I was blown away because I would have never spent this on a knife, ever. And the size of it was out of my comfort zone. It was way bigger than something that I would carry before. And I still really don't carry this knife because it's really thick and kind of boxy, and it's big. Even though now I'm definitely going to start carrying it more because of, you know, things that have opened my eyes. Now, and what that was, part of being a YouTube reviewer, you got to kind of maybe step out of your comfort zone just to try things. For instance, I started with the Para 3. Then I grabbed, let me see, where is it? Oh yeah. Then I grabbed the mini grip. I got the mini grip, and that kind of, that was within my comfort level, and I was really happy with this. But it's a little small, even you guys have seen with my hands, this knife's a little small. So, naturally, and I heard all the hype, and next thing I knew, I went into the 940, which it was actually the green anodized aluminum one. And the 940 opened my eyes to a blade that was 3.5 inches thick, 3.5 inches long, and out of that comfort zone. And holy shit, I loved my 940. Absolutely loved it. Pushed me out of that comfort zone and really just opened my eyes to like maybe a longer blade. Maybe I actually do like that. I've got more cutting surface. Obviously throughout my life I've had fixed blades. God, fixed blades, we're talking a whole nother world of, just me like figuring things out and stepping up and moving into more expensive or exotic knives. Here's a more, this is obviously on the other end of that. The blackjack, this is obviously custom handle scales and everything for this blackjack neck knife. But yeah, stepping into something more like this, even the K-Bar Turok is, I would have never spent this on a fixed blade when I was a kid, but now that's on the lower end. I feel like eventually I want to get my hands on something nicer. So yeah, it's just, you find that value and things that you never would have expected to spend money on. I don't spend money on things that I used to spend money on stupid things. Now I save that money and I've been spending it on knives, like I would spend it on surfboards or skateboards or whatever. So your tastes change, and obviously the things you hold dear, that all changes. But the 940 opened my eyes for size of a blade, and then it still was super light though. I always thought like, 3 ounces, 4 ounces maybe, 5 ounces is just absurd. That's why I would never carry this thing too. I want to say it's upwards of 5 ounces. So, it was a lot for me to get over that hump. Once I did, I don't know, at this point I really don't know where it went from there, but it really, like, it started to step into, for instance, like this. The Paramilitary 2 was out of my comfort zone. Funny enough, this is definitely not a big knife, especially compared to this. This is a much bigger knife. Let me see if I can show you that. But the PM2 was kind of a step into that realm, with the 940, kind of similar size knife. So that kind of like opened my eyes to the PM2. Maybe the PM2 wasn't too big, even though when I got the Para 3, I thought, because the PM2 was too big. Not so much anymore. And then the Man X2 came after the PM2 because I figured, well, if this isn't too big, maybe the Man X2 isn't too big. And it's not. It's not a lot of cutting surface for how much handle and how big the knife is and pocket and stuff, but it makes up for that tenfold with the ergonomics and how comfortable the handle is and how light it is, even though it's so big. And then, of course, the Maximate. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, so those knives kind of stepped me into that. I opened my eyes up to this guy, which is not necessarily big out of my comfort zone, but it was a back lock, and I was getting all into this compression lock, and I'm like, back locks, old news. I don't need a back lock. I know where that comes from. But, I stepped into the triad lock, which was a new thing for me, and cold steel, I had a cold steel because I got a I forget what fixed blade I got from Cold Steel. But yeah, so I was familiar with Cold Steel, but I just didn't have any other folders, the Triad lock or anything. So, I grabbed this guy, and then that opened me up into the American Hunter, which is a bigger knife, and then had to do it. I had to go into the Recon 1, which, damn, that's a big knife. I mean, if you guys don't have one of these, it's just a massive knife. It's big. And this combined with like a Police 4, God, sorry guys, it's tough when I'm in this small confined area. But yeah, dude, opened my eyes to what a bigger knife. I still can't carry these where I work, but I'm okay carrying it. I'm not okay carrying this where I live because other people, not me. Whereas before me, I didn't want to carry something this big, but my tastes have changed, and in using something this big and feeling that ergonomics and just having a handle that fits in my hand really well, and a blade that's fully capable, that you're not running out of blade when you're cutting a lot of stuff. So yeah, it just opened my eyes. And the Police 4, is another one that opened my eyes, and it's just outside of that normal feeling of like, this is what I'll carry. This is the limit of what I'll carry. And then also, when saying that, I said like, I started jumping into these more expensive knives and kind of left behind that budget knife level. And in saying that, I almost kind of like, I turned my eyes away. Like I didn't see a lot of the budget knives that are out now that would blow the fuck out of my mind. I mean, this was actually the reason I started my channel, probably because I had all these more expensive knives, and I got this guy and was like, holy shit, the level of fit and finish, and just the smoothness of the knife and the steel, how it held up. VG10, I didn't really know how great that could be with the proper heat treat. But yeah, it kind of like brought me back to earth a little bit and said like, shit, you don't have to spend $130 on a knife to get a super nice knife these days. This guy, I would have never, and front flipper, I didn't even know what the fuck that was, because this is all new, and I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, guys, and this kind of shit wasn't even around, just not to mention all the steels and all that wasn't around when I was a kid. This knife is fucking spectacular. I mean, the action, the roller bearings for $60, you're talking a knife that's just amazing. Would have never got this 6 months ago because I was stuck on this shit. I was stuck in that $100 to $200 range on knives. But I kind of came back to earth a little bit, and blown away by stuff like this. A knife that for $30 is really doing things that knives in the $150 range are doing. In a much cheaper option. Just blowing me away. I mean, you guys just saw my unboxing of this. Holy crap. Amazing knife for $42 with an extremely slicey blade. Guys, I'm going to have to talk to you about that here shortly, because this hollow grind is absolutely amazing. But yeah, so just pushing yourself out of that comfort zone and trying something that you normally would have not tried, I think is really important. I know you guys just saw my review of this, and I would have never got this 5 years ago, but everything's changed. Once I saw it, and I started to try other knives, and then I was like, you know what? That thing kind of might fit my style. And in getting it, It truly does. It really just took me out of that comfort zone of like, for instance, I'm trying to think of what would be a good knife to explain. I mean, like just a normal drop point, like a drop point with a swedge. That's what I think of when I think of knives. Even the Para 3, it's just kind of weird looking. It's got this big old hole. It's definitely not that drop point. Even this thing. I mean, when I got this, I was like, damn, saber ground, drop point, swedge. This is what I thought of when I thought of knives. I did not think of something like the Spidey Chef. This is like on another level. And once I kind of stepped out, I'm so glad I did, because I was surprised at every turn. I mean, another thing is, like, as far as comfort level with steels, when I got this, it was S30V. Is that powdered stainless steel, and I was really excited to try this this new powdered steel idea. It was really cool. Really excited about that, and I kept looking for all stainless. Like, I really was just trying to, I thought, oh, I don't want it to rust. I don't want it to rust. Until I tried M4. This was the one that kind of just changed my mind. When I tried M4 and I saw the difference, what the tool steel could do, it changed my mind. I really don't give a shit about stainlessness anymore. I take care of my tools. I'm really meticulous and almost to the OCD level, but I take care of my stuff. So why do I need to worry about having a stainless steel? Yeah, obviously, having 20 CV in this guy, I don't have to worry about him. It's nice, but if I would have stuck with that idea, I just would have never tried Maximate, which, fuck, am I glad I tried Maximate. But then again, this could just quiver kill all these knives, because this thing just could sharpen it once every fucking 2 months. But yeah, I mean that doesn't mean I wouldn't have all these knives or carry all these knives, but it just means that hypothetically that could just destroy the rest of my knife collection. So anyways, yeah, just another thing I thought of with the blade steels and stainless versus tool steel. That's another comfort level. So I know this ran on a little too long. I know his was a lot shorter. Thanks, SharpThinking, for getting me on this. It was pretty fun to do, just to think about. And I know I missed something because I really didn't have any notes or anything. I'm just kind of winging it. Just kind of going with the seat of my pants here. And I have been working on something today, guys, and I kind of finished a little project, which, if you didn't see that, that's some new scales for this guy, which I've made some. I got 4 of those. I grabbed up 4 of them and made new micarta and fiberglass and micarta carbon fiber. So new scales for those, and yeah, really excited about that. Got some cool stuff coming up, some cool knives that I'll be looking forward to showing you guys. But yeah, thanks again, SharpThinking, for starting this, and I probably took it to a different level of rambling, but yeah. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Appreciate all your comments and subscriptions, and yeah. Have a great day, guys.